Good afternoon, champions, and welcome to the Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms stream. My name is Dylan Wilks, and I am your host today. So, for those of you who weren't around last week, which was our first ever stream, and this is now our second, please bear in mind that we are new to Twitch streaming, and we will make mistakes, and we will learn, and we'll hopefully get better each time. Just to let everybody in the loop a little bit, about 20 minutes ago, we broke our camera setup and spent the last few minutes getting into this, trying to get everything working properly again, which was wonderful. But I'm glad that Dave is here, so that really helped us. So, somebody was looking in the window. This stream is something of an experiment for us, one that we anticipate is going to change and evolve a lot over the lifetime of Idle Champions. So we definitely want your feedback, as long as it is constructive and not just we hate you or you suck or we want more Minsk and Boo, which we do. But anyways, anything constructive will really help us. So please, we welcome it. We are active on the Discord now, so you can always post in the tavern there and get our attention. Just not right now because we're paying attention to the Twitch chat and not the Discord chat yet. So first things first, I'd like to give a huge thanks to Wizards of the Coast. Dungeons and Dragons is extremely important to us, and it is a passion, and we make games because we love games, and D&D is one of the reasons that we love games. So here we are. I would also like to welcome my guest in a moment here. You may, thanks Erica, you may know him as the invisible force that built this room that we talked about a great deal last week, but we know him as Dave. He's one of the co-founders of Codename Entertainment. He's a University of Victoria graduate with his Master's of Science in Computer Science. He's been making and playing games for decades, and on top of it all, he built this studio from scratch in a very short period of time, doing a ton of reading and a ton of work on weekends, and even going so far as to paint the walls green so that we could chroma key all this stuff out so that you could see me in the game background, which is really cool. So you can ask us just about anything. So without further ado, I will introduce Dave. Hello. Hi. Just slide into frame. Yeah, here we are. Nice if
I had a microphone. There
yeah,
we go.
Yeah.
All right.
I can't reach that far and do this at the same time. There's another thing I wanted to mention before we really get rolling. We're going to be doing several raffles over the course of the next hour. We're going to be giving away full Steam keys for both Lords of Waterdeep, which is awesome, and Tales from Candlekeep, Tomb of Annihilation, both made by our friends over at Playdeck and BCom Studios. And I'd also like to take this moment to apologize to BCom because last week I kept calling Candlekeep Candledeep, and not at all confusing with Lords of Waterdeep and Tales from Candlekeep at all. But we are very happy to be able to give away keys for their game. It's a lot of fun. And then, of course, gold chests. Well, at least one gold chest. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to pull up the game here and just start ticking away while we start looking at some questions. Oh, and I think I might turn the sound on because it's just a little bit more interesting than the awkward silence in the background when we're when we're playing. How about, what, 2%? There we go.
2% seems good.
Nice and subtle, yeah. So as everybody can see, I am in the Tomb of Annihilation. Where am I? Oh, looks like I wiped and moved back to 36 from 40. Oh, wait, no, further. Oh, that's embarrassing. Let's start looking at questions. Dave, how do you want to do this? Do you want me to read them out, or do you want to browse through? Or
yeah, if you want to pick some questions, read them out, and we'll see what we can answer.
Somebody asked a question about 2 or 3 minutes before we even started, so I kind of want to just get that one in there before it disappears. So it's from somebody named Pub00. Since Crusaders of the Lost Idols can't use so many visual effects on the shaders.
I think it's supposed to be shaders.
Yeah. Are there any plans on changing looks on the heroes in Idle Champions? Not necessarily upgrading the outfits by any upgrades, but giving them a new look or gears or making them look fully epic. So I guess they're asking about what kind of cosmetic upgrades we're looking for in Idle Champions.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we've talked about before doing like equipment pieces on them, but the big issue with that comes around making sure that they actually look really awesome all the time. And so we didn't want to start with, when you didn't have any equipment, having them basically look not like their iconic
you don't want them to look crappy, for sure.
But one thing that we have talked about doing, so we probably won't be doing that, but one thing that we have talked about doing is doing like costume pieces for them potentially. So something you might be able to unlock where you give them, Pirate Brunor, for example, or something along those lines. Yeah.
Pirate Brunor?
Could very well be. But they'd be themed costume type pieces.
Oh, okay, so for like events.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay, that's a cool idea. All right. So just if everybody could do me a favor and put like #question in front of your question, because a lot of chat tends to go by really quickly and it's really easy for us to miss it. Somebody asking if there will be a Warhammer 40k version of Idle Champions. How likely is that, Dave?
That does not sound like...
That sounds unlikely. So Joe Hills is asking, when can we expect to see blessings unlocks for the new Tomb of Annihilation Divine Favor?
Not 100% sure on that one. We were hoping to have some of those in before we actually got the Tomb of Annihilation content out, but it didn't happen. My feeling would be sometime in the next 2 weeks. But,
okay.
Justin, who does a lot of the design on this, actually chose a wonderful time to go on vacation. So he's away right now, and he would have a better...
He got engaged or something, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah, so congratulations to Justin. That's awesome. And we look forward to you being back.
Most definitely.
Yeah. Is there some sort of clan system coming?
I'm not 100% sure how that would actually sort of fit together into the game. Like, would that be something where players were able to work together as a guild, or something where there was a combined bonuses or combined
so
progress?
Like some sort of multiplayer type something?
I don't think so. It's not something that we've discussed, but it is something that has been mentioned from time to time, but I don't think so at this point.
Okay. What's next? Anything like feats you can add to champions to customize your characters? So like the feats in D&D where athletic, or what have you.
Yeah, no plans for that at this time.
Okay. Will there be a mobile version of Idle Champions?
That is a very good question.
One that I get at least a few times a day through other social channels.
It is something that eventually we would like to be able to do, but it's way out on the planning schedule right now. We did before with Crusaders of the Lost Idols. We did our mobile version of that, and we ran into a lot of issues around making the UI compatible for phones. And so that's still a big heads up for us, is sort of wondering how we'd manage to do that in a better way, just to make sure that it's more intuitive. And there's a lot of little details, especially in all the little pop-ups and on the character sheet, that are actually really challenging to fit onto a mobile screen and still maintain the same level of detail. So it's a big undertaking.
Yeah, the whole interface, I guess, would have to change, but cool. So let's see what's next. Are we going to get a crafting type system in the game somewhere? Maybe even just combining lesser potions into better ones?
A lot of these questions actually would be better served for Justin, unfortunately.
I'd like to bring him on here, but
maybe next time.
He'll probably tell me no.
We'll see. My guess would be eventually. That is something that will end up in the game, but I'm not the authority on that particular advancement there. That would be Justin.
Okay. Let's see. Could we get somewhere that shows as I unlock achievements and sums up the bonus damage percentage buff either in the achievements menu or in the hero buffs tab?
Yeah, now that's something that has been asked for before, and I've put that in as something that I'd like to see, just to get a summation of all the bonuses you're getting from the various locations. And achievements was the first one that was mentioned.
Nice.
We actually have a system for us on the back end that lets us, for verification and for testing, see where all of the different sources are coming from. It's not pretty, and it's missing some pieces at the moment, but looking at that, I have often thought this would be valuable for players to see. But at the very least, we're looking at the achievement one, and the other stuff is there sort of maybe.
Okay. Let's see. Is there anything the dev team is doing to address maybe adding some events or activity things to do in the game to make streaming it on Twitch possible?
I think I need more detail on that as to what specifically they're asking.
Are we going to do a Twitch Plays Idle Champions? Is that something we're planning?
It's certainly a possibility.
How is the Halloween event likely to appear next week? That's a very specific question.
Yeah, I can't give any dates, but we're definitely working on a Halloween event.
Okay. Will there be any kind of dodge or evade mechanics?
That's a good question. Again, Justin's probably the guy to ask those questions for specifically the game design elements of them. At this point, there's nothing in it or nothing planned for that. But as we continue to add new champions, I'm going to slip there.
This is Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms, not Idle Crusaders of the Forgotten Realms.
Start mixing them together. As we continue to add new champions, we're always looking for different abilities to make them unique from each other. So something like that could eventually make its way in.
Oh, right on. So we have a question from Critical Mole, who I suppose was the person who was asking on Twitter how it was possible that there were there were people who had like thousands of hours of game time play, and I mentioned that well, if you're a developer, then you have even more than that because it counts time making it. And so they're asking, you know, if you've got thousands of hours, I don't know how many hours you have again. It's something like 4,000.
Oh, it's a lot.
They're wondering what your divine favor is.
It's actually very low for that. Those hours are actually in the Unity editor. When you connect, the way the game actually connects through Steam, when I'm editing, when I'm working on it, it counts. Steam thinks I'm playing the game. And so I've been through so many different test accounts at this point that the divine favor on that side is pretty low. In fact, I think I might have reset that account just last week. So.
Oh, well, that's disappointing. I was hoping for some astronomical number.
No.
Okay. What does the team want to accomplish before the game is considered a version 1.0?
That's a really good question. I think the biggest thing we want to do is we want to work out all of the major show-stopping bugs as they've been coming up. We've got a few that have been really hard to track down that we've been actively working on solving. And one of them, and I'm sure people have run into this, you leave the game open, you know, 48 hours, if you're lucky, and then goes on its own. And that one was the one we're actively working on doing. We want to make sure that, you know, you can leave the game open in the background for as long as you need and it doesn't end up just dying on you.
Okay, that would be a good one to do, yeah.
And there's a really odd one where characters are ending up, they're coming back to the game and they're finding that one person in the front is alive and everyone else is turned into a ghost.
I didn't know you could do that. I haven't seen that.
Yeah, I haven't had it happen to me, but I've had so many reports of it that it's up there on the top of the list. And we've been adding, with each update, we've been adding additional debug output to try and figure out, hey, what's going on here? Because that one's got to stop.
Yeah.
So,
and for the record, the best way to report a bug is?
If you click the support link, you'll open up a ticket and you'll send it, and it's going to end up coming directly to me. So you have a bug, so you can send
direct line to Dave. There you go. So let's see. Kyle Vogt 01. How long before the Maze Arcana champions asking for a friend?
We have a whole ton of different groups we want to put the champions in from, but we're still working out how that will actually work. So I don't have any estimates on
any ETAs, but it's definitely something that works.
Yeah, we've got a lot of different groups who want to get their champions in, their heroes, their characters. So
fair enough. Somebody asking, will there be new achievement types in the future related to clickables and or ultimates? For example, ravens, bushes clicked, enemies killed with ultimates, that kind of thing. Yeah,
I mean the ravens clicked, or the distractions clicked as we call them, is definitely something that's been requested numerous times, and I mean these are one of these things that once we've sort of worked out the major pieces, that the smaller polishing items like adding additional achievements for that will get moved up to the top of the list. So
okay, well I think we'll take another question here and then we'll do our first giveaway.
Ooh, giveaway.
Yeah, that's exciting. So let's see. Any plans to add optional attack or ultimates? From my experience, only Tyrell and Arcan have options to change the ultimates, but that also changes how their character is used. So I guess they're looking for some more options, more versatile, more choices.
More optional attacks.
Yeah.
As in something that you might get in addition to having, like maybe having two ultimates or a switch. It's a good question. because we have it set up so that you can actually, it's easy for us to make it so that you can make a choice like that and add in additional attacks. It's definitely something that we're going to be adding onto champions as we go, because again, as I mentioned, it's really important to make sure that we get as many unique champions in there as possible, because that really makes the gameplay a lot more interesting. So I'd say definitely we're going to have more with choices like that. If you're asking if we're going to have some that have, you know, options of like, hey, you've got 2 ultimates and you're choosing between them using it at the same time, probably not anytime soon, but again, it is something that we could end up putting in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I mean, like if we watch Critical Role, then Arcan and the new Hand of Vecna and all that stuff, and it's like Arcan's in our game, but it's a little different, so it provides us with opportunities because these characters are changing as people play them as well.
Yeah,
cool. Will there be a hero that buffs clicks?
That's a good question. That is one of those ones where, as like coming over from Crusaders, where we had the Bushwhacker, who that was his job. I think that was something that in the initial design anyway, that Justin was very hesitant about. But as
so what's the hesitation around having one that buffs clicks? I'm just curious.
I think it was really around the usage, like how clicks were used and whether or not they were as useful as one might hope them to be. And I think we were trying to pull back on them a little bit here and make it less of a... and the clicks have gone through a very, like originally, interestingly enough, is that during the original testing, we actually had it so you didn't have clicks. What you had was the ability to click on a given champion, which would then speed up their attack. So that would let you actually, like, if you had a particular one you wanted to attack much faster, you could be like, click, 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 you know, so this is my main DPS. But we found that to be a little bit cumbersome, especially if you were going to try and move your formation around, so you'd end up accidentally picking up the character you were trying to speed up. So the initial design, we pulled clicking out altogether, and then it ended up getting put back in because we wanted to have some way that you could manually sort of impact things, but the speeding up the Crusader didn't work very well.
Looks like Erica went ahead and started the raffle while we rambled on there. Which one are we giving away right now, Erica? I'm thinking maybe the Lords of Waterdeep key, so that somebody can get that game, because that's a blast. At least the board game is. I haven't played the digital one yet. I assume it's the same thing, so it's probably still a lot of fun.
I've heard good things about it.
Yeah. Lords of Waterdeep key. Yeah, excellent. So be sure to enter that raffle, and once that's over, Erica will send you a private message on Twitch to get you that key, so it won't be related to the chat. So be sure to check that window. On another note, which of these missions should I try? Should I do the Crumbling Temple or Useless Allies? They're both horrible, aren't they? Like, this is gonna, I'm just gonna get wrecked for the next half hour.
A little bit, yeah. Which one? You completed the base adventures already?
Yeah, kind of just needed to get some divine favor. Otherwise, this would have been the most boring thing to watch. Me like clicking away to try and get level 1.
Because I know you were holding off for the stream. You wanted this to be like your first experience with it, but
the idea was that it would be my first time in the Tomb of Annihilation on stream. Except when Erica pointed out that I would have no divine favor and it would take forever to do anything, I was like, right, that would be really bad, especially since I'm sure all of our players started this yesterday, and many of them have probably completed all of it. So. In which case I would just look like a total noob, which I'm obviously not. So Useless Allies is a bit more fun to watch. Says learn word consider. I don't know what I'm doing trying to pronounce Twitch names. I'm just gonna stop that. Useless Allies it is. Okay, right, with the formation blocked out where they're moving around or something. I think it's the thing.
Yeah, they have a random positioning on those guys.
Oh god, this is gonna...
Every 25 levels, I think they change.
Yeah. Oh geez, look at these losers. Well, at least I get some characters, right? Oh geez, only one. This is gonna be interesting. Oh, that's because I'm gonna turn that off. More important to get them in here than it is to... please, I welcome your judgment on my terrible formation. And if you have a better idea on how to... Does it change the pattern each 25 levels? Is that what happens?
That's right. There's selected slots that it changes to every 25 levels.
Okay, so I got to keep moving it. Okay.
Yeah. Every 25 levels you'll have to change your formation.
That sucks. Raven. Okay, well, let's...
well, you already have quite a bit of gold find here.
I might have used up my potions and such to try and get enough gold find to not suck for the stream. Yeah. I'm still refusing to God mode my account where I just have infinite chests, because I feel like that's not really indicative of what most player experience is.
To go into the admin settings and be like, I'm just gonna tweak this.
Yeah, well, I mean, so I have the DLC, so like my entry characters are good, and I had crazy luck with Stokey, like by far my best geared champion. But some of the later ones like Jamila and Hitch and Arkan are all pretty mediocre. So yeah, I mean, they're great champions for other people, just maybe not as much for me as I would like. But I'll get there, probably. Oh yeah, Stokey. So back to questions. What do we got? Maybe I'll scroll back a bit to the Raffles, because it kind of destroys the questions lining up. So there are challenges to lock up spots. Any plans to make those locked spots buffable or usable DPS?
Challenges to lock up spots.
I don't know. I guess they mean like, we have the useless allies right now, so maybe that's a character that we could buff or change or adjust, and like it forces us to use that DPS. Maybe is the question.
Yeah, I know in Crusaders we had a number of objectives where the spots that were being used up did have an effect, often a negative effect. An additional challenge. Anyone next to this slot is getting a debuff of some sort, but I do think we also had some that were buffed slots. So I think you'll definitely see that going forward. At the very least, you're going to see the debuff one. That's a fun one. I think that's a favorite for Justin. And you're going to enjoy this. But otherwise,
this person has the plague. Take them with you. It's like, why would I do that? Okay. So let's see. What's next? Is there a way for people to still get Stokey items?
At this point, there isn't. But we are planning to add additional ways that you'll be able to get those items, as well as currently. As we did in Crusaders, was that when the event comes around again, you'll have an opportunity to get additional Stokey chests.
So the intent right now is to have the High Harvest Tide come back around?
That's the intent.
That's the intent, yeah. Okay. But not necessarily the confirmation, depending on what happens between now and then? Yeah,
it's one of these things that always has the opportunity to change. If we come up with a better idea, then we reserve the right to do the better idea. So, but we definitely would make, at some point, the option to get those items again. But,
fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, I find I personally use Stokey so much more than Jarlaxle, not just because the character has better gear for me, but I like the damage debuff more than I like his extra gold. It's nice. It's in the formation that I've been trying to use to push further in.
Yeah, it is one of those things where we do try and make the Crusaders unique in a way. I said it again. This is a problem. The champions unique in a way that lets it play to your play style. So it's not the idea that when you get a new one, it's better than the previous ones. It's the idea that you get someone that's going to work differently, and in certain adventures, in certain formations, they're going to be better than the other options there. And so having them all is going to give you an advantage rather than just this one's the best and always use that one.
Okay. Will you bring any favor which does not give a gold bonus?
That is definitely
alternative favor buffs
that we'd really like to do. One of the ones for the current one, we talked about it, but we didn't get it in, and that would be having it do a different process, like potentially it could do damage bonus instead of doing gold find. But really from a balance perspective, it's something that we hadn't looked into really in any depth yet, and so we wanted to do that before just pushed it out as a different type. Fair enough. But certainly the options are there, and we'd like to have different bonuses for the favors, just really make them unique. Cool.
So let's see. Any plan to increase offline gold to match online gold?
Yes, but not quite. That particular formula right now is a little on the stingy side. It's lower, quite a bit lower than you end up getting from having the game open. Now, ideally, we don't want it to be a punishment to have the game open. We'd never want it to be so that you turn the game off into offline mode, and that would be the way to play. Yeah. But we're still having to play with the amount of how we actually calculate that out, because it's actually a lot more difficult than it was previously, because the characters actually attack, and so there's a number of different factors there that need to be calculated out. And right now we're thinking we might end up having to add just like a simulation that says, all right, this is simulating how many levels you just went through, and have it calculate the whole thing through, and be like, all right, that's how much gold you got, or approximately there. Just because the current estimation ends up being a little bit on the low side.
Okay, fair enough. And just just for the audience, in case you're wondering why I'm constantly scratching my nose, it's because my sinuses are hypersensitive and it's like really dry and still kind of dusty in here. So it's like, it's tough. So like, I may start to be like later on, just, you know, just to warn people in advance, you know. I'm sorry, my sinuses are sensitive, but I smell things good. You know?
Well, maybe you smell.
Sorry, yes, well, thanks. I like grammar. Next question. Any details on why you chose a new currency for Tomb of Annihilation? Anything different coming for it? Oh, I guess we just kind of addressed that. Will damage types ever be a new factor when playing? For example, Celeste's Flame Strike doing reduced damage on fire elementals, or Delena's Ice Ultimate being more effective.
Before we get to that, actually, if I could elaborate a little bit on the choice for having the new currency.
Oh, yeah.
One of the big advantages of having the multiple currencies is because the intention is to end up with quite a number of available campaigns that players can choose from. If it all used the same currency, then the difficulty curve would end up being tied to that one currency, and that would result in you having to effectively play the game in order. But by having the different campaigns have their own currencies, it means once you've sort of completed that little bit of the base campaign, you can pick a new campaign to play, and you don't have to play them in any order. And that makes it so that, you know, you're not, of course, grinding to try and get to the next content update. But it also means that if we release new content and a new player comes along, they can be involved in playing it. They can get on board with that and discuss it with everybody, instead of being like, oh, well, I'm never going to get to that. That's like 2 years play out. So yeah. So it's really helpful for that. As well as it makes it a little bit easier for us to make sure everything's balanced for events, because otherwise, again, we're looking at players who have billions and billions stored up and players who have none, and we have to try and make it challenging and interesting for everybody.
Yeah. I don't know how many people are on the Discord, but there was a conversation earlier today or last night, whenever I was reading the notes, from where somebody was talking about using every potion in the game all at once towards the end of a run, click potions, everything, and like powering through up into the like higher hundreds, you know, like 285 plus. And so like their divine favor is like so radically ahead of most players that it's kind of, this actually allows you to have a balanced playthrough on each one, instead of just doing that once at the beginning of the game's life and then just tearing through everything like it's nothing.
Definitely.
Okay, cool.
Although that's insane. 280?
Well, one of them was 284, but I don't think he has the record. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't get an awful lot of opportunity to play. I spend most of my time working on it, so unfortunately, I think the highest I've got to is like 126. So I don't know. That's sort of a.
I was higher than that just now in the game. I wasn't paying attention to it, Dave. Come on. No, I'm just giving you a hard time.
You've opened more chests than I have.
Yeah. Well, fair enough. So back to the question about different damage types. You know, so like doing fire damage or ice damage and having it being more or less effective to different elementals, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's a cool idea. It is something that came up during the initial development of those abilities, and it was something that we left out. But I really liked the idea of doing it. So it's something we can consider going forward, but it's not something that we have lined up right now. But I really like that idea. So
yeah. I like it too. I've always been a fan, especially you can have all kinds of different interactions. So
right, especially if you do one and then the other, it's like freeze, burn, freeze.
Yeah. You mean I have to use Delena? No. Let's see. Question: where do bears keep their gold?
Oh, I can't answer that.
Oh, fair enough. Let's see. Will you guys be at PAX South? Which PAX is that? Which PAX is that? PAX South. Because I know that Eric is on his way to PAX Australia pretty quick here.
Yeah, and we usually go to PAX Prime, or it's not PAX Prime anymore. It's now PAX West.
Yeah, PAX Prime is now PAX West, and then there's PAX East. So I don't even know about PAX South personally, but I'm relatively new, so I can get away with that. Dave,
no.
Don't know. We may or may not. We do endeavor to connect with our audience as much as we can and participate in those communities, but it could be anything from myself or Clive or Eric or a combination at any one of these, so who knows. But we will definitely let everybody know through social, depending on which events we're going to be at. Like Clive and I are going to be at TwitchCon this weekend in Long Beach. So if anybody's there and wants to say hi and tell us that our stream is good or not, or give us some other feedback, they're more than welcome to come up to us. We're pretty approachable usually. Yeah, unless it's first thing in the morning, then I'm not. But other than that, yeah. How in depth is your storyboarding? Do you try to tell a story every 5 levels, every 25? Like, I guess they're talking about the narrative for each adventure.
Yeah, so we actually, for the storyboarding pieces, we do actually, I guess, it's not actually a storyboard per se, it's more of a large Excel document. Well, not Excel, actually it's an online, whatever the Google Docs equivalent is. But we do split it up every 5 levels, and we attempt to tell a sort of a little mini arc at the very minimum. Otherwise, we try to arc the whole adventure to have the little pieces come together. So yeah, for each adventure, there's a document with all of the different.
How do I make this formation not suck? Jesus.
I know, it's not my area of expertise. I think you just open a bunch of chests. It's the.
that's how I make this formation
right.
not suck. Open chests. I mean, they're geared enough that they're going to kill everything for a while, but like, I always want to have Naeli in front, and when I can't, it just hurts. So, okay.
How many levels do you have before you? Oh, you've got another like 12 or 14, 13 levels before you get a switch in the formation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's going as fast as it can. So let's see. What's next? Does boss damage go infinity as not killed and tanked? I'm not sure I understand that question.
I see. Which one is it? Does boss damage go to infinity?
I'm just going to go ahead and assume that.
Yeah, I mean, so bosses have the power-up mechanic, and so as if the boss gets to you, it starts to get stronger and stronger and stronger.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you see the boss; it'll start to, this little flare comes up along him, and then he grows.
Oh, and he gets bigger. Oh, that's what that is.
He gets bigger, and then he gets bigger.
Okay.
And they continue to go until
it scales indefinitely.
Yeah. And so the boss power up is sort of the equivalent of a time limit. It means you want to get through here, you have to be able to defeat the boss, and you have to do it inside of the time that it takes for him to get to the point where he can just one-shot you.
Okay.
Because otherwise you could really cheese those fights in a long time, sort of trying to get him, stopping him, using the abilities in different orders.
I was always wondering why sometimes like they just slowly make it up to you, and then they just it's fine, and then you turn and you come back, and then you're just getting ravaged, and you're like, what the, the whole part where you have an idle game and you keep tabbing out or whatever.
Yeah, you have to be able to defeat the boss inside of that time limit.
Okay. Yeah. So next question: will Jarlaxle or Delina ever be useful?
I'm the wrong guy to ask for that. I'm sorry.
I think they are useful. I think one of the things that was pointed out to me that I hadn't really considered at first is like, because we're intending for this game to have a long life, things like Ashara buffing elves and dwarves means that we can do potential formations down the line that like are not maybe necessarily the most amazing right now. Like, I'm pretty sure every run through I do buffs humans,
right?
Because I'm buffing either Jamila or Hitch or Minsk or some combination thereof to tear through the content. But if we down the line have more characters of other races, then that opens up and changes things. In which case you might prefer to have a drow or an elf in your group.
Yeah, I mean, every time we add a new champion. You just said.
No, I don't think I did.
Yeah.
I was thinking it though.
Yeah. Every time we add a new character, it's going to change the dynamic a little bit there, especially when it's tied to things like what race they are. In addition, we do have abilities in there that are affected based on like the actual stats, like for example, the ability that's based on like the charisma score. So that sort of thing too. Definitely going to make certain abilities more powerful or less powerful as that comes.
Yeah.
So
cool. How long are you planning to add new quests to the original campaign Grand Tour of the Sword Coasts, and how do you plan to keep it challenging?
I can at least answer one half of that question, and that is that the intention is to continue adding quests to that just indefinitely. So for the life of the game, we'll be adding quests to that particular campaign. The other campaigns are going to be interspersed as we do that. So I don't have an exact schedule that I can share in terms of when that's going to be added, but it would be on a regular basis, just continually. As far as the difficulty stuff goes on that, I'm not 100% sure. That would be a question for Justin.
Okay. So it's just a little past half past, so I'm assuming we have another raffle starting, probably for a Steam key of Tales from Candlekeep, Tomb of Annihilation, from our friends at BCom over in Quebec City. Awesome. They were fun to chat with. I don't know if anybody else has had the opportunity, but they're pretty fun. Yeah. Have you played it?
I have not played it yet. I watched Eric play a bunch of it.
Yeah, it's good.
It looks really good.
Oh, it's pretty. Yeah, they did a really kick-ass job of the graphics and the menus and all the UI elements. It just,
Yeah, every time I look at that, I think, man, I wish we'd done a 3D game.
You just made all of our artists groan.
No.
Ah.
No, you get a number of those visual effects sort of almost for free when you do that. It's sort of like, oh, look, lighting, shadows.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
Ambient occlusion. Oh, my God, it's so pretty.
Fair enough.
And with the 2D stuff, our artists have to draw it also.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. What's next? Plans for adding new types of chests, specific hero chests like Stokey, but not necessarily an event hero, weapons chests, potion chests, other types of chests.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. At this point, we haven't discussed anything around adding chests that are specific to a particular type of item. Like this is always going to be, you know, this is going to be a piece of gear that's a weapon, or this is going to be a piece of gear that's a. I guess that's really only the either it's all armor and then like one weapon. So I guess there's sort of armor or weapon on the split there, because we didn't end up actually having the characters have like specific slots. Like this is a boot slot and this is a head slot. It was just
they have different types of slots, but they're not all the same.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I could see something like that as a promotional thing, but it's not something that we've discussed at this point. And there'd definitely be more like the Stokey chest type thing for the events, but outside of those, I'm not sure.
Okay. What's next? Will you be adding some way to make creatures spawn faster? Not in an overwhelming way, but sort of like a potion?
That one's possible. That is something that we've talked about. I know one of the things that you end up with when you start fresh, and you want to work up to whatever level you were actually at. It does take a long time to get to sort of the point where you end up actually being up against the wall again for like, all right, this is sort of my maxed out position. And so it'd be nice to be able to get there really quickly. I know that's something that players have requested from me specifically. Like I get tickets about that. Hey, can we make the monsters go faster?
Yeah.
And I know we talked about having some kind of a mode that would let you move along faster like that, but it's not something that, as far as like a design element goes, that we've discussed in detail.
Okay.
So,
will the game ever get a bestiary?
that one is also been highly requested, largely along like Minsk's ability, because it's like, oh, well, what fits here? I guess this kind of looks like a beast, maybe. All right, that one.
Mm-hmm.
I know personally when I bring that up, that pops up over the screen, like, oh, wait, what was I fighting? Humanoid.
Yeah. When all else fails, go humanoid. Except for the missions with beasts, or the missions like the tomb ones that are filled with zombies. Or what was it? Flying lizard zombies was one of them. Flying lizard zombie.
It's a giant flying zombie snake. Yeah.
Oh, that's what it was, right? Yeah. Not a lizard. It's a snake. All right.
Anyway, yeah, it'd be really nice to get a bestiary in. I'm not entirely sure when that'll hit the docket as far as like something that we put time into, but it's highly requested. We really like to have it. So hopefully at some point.
Okay. Will there be some way to see information about enemies, specifically their type? I guess that's related to it directly, but you know, maybe you mouse over a zombie and it says zombie.
I'm not sure. We'd have to sort of see what that actually entailed, what that meant. It feels like it's part of the bestiary.
Yeah. Okay. Will you be... oh wait, no, that's the exact same one. Would you introduce wounds or lives on champions for special events?
Wounds or lives?
Oh.
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not 100% sure sort of what that would specifically entail. If that's like for this particular adventure, this character is crippled or limited in some way, like that it's sort of a lesser version of that character for whatever contextual reason. Maybe it's part of the story. Maybe it's kind of like the Tomb of Annihilation, like the death curse.
Yeah.
Something like that. I definitely see that happening.
Cool. What is the deal with the characters' backgrounds in their info being not set?
That is a combination of issues. We're getting to it. It's been a bit of a challenge to gather all of that information together. So it will be set. It's just not set yet. Definitely one of the things that will get done before we get out of early access.
Okay. Well, you heard it here first. Well, So this is an interesting one from Leon Goldlion. What is the thought process on champions running out of upgrades at wildly different levels? It feels odd when I buy every upgrade possible and I'm still stuck at a wall. So hours at a wall for just a few base damage upgrades that don't match the health jumps.
Right. So again, this is a question that would be really better suited for Justin, who does the balance and design on those. My understanding right now is that all of those are still subject to being updated and changed.
Okay.
So we will most likely continue to add to that as it makes sense. And if there's anyone that stands out as being really like an odd, like, all right, I got this far, and I've, based on the amount of money that you've spent on them, like the amount of gold that you've spent on it relative to the other champions, and you've run out of upgrades, that's probably an indicator that we need to add more upgrades in that spot.
Okay. Let's see. Are there any plans of changing the way that gear works?
No. I'm not 100% sure what that would mean.
Okay.
But
so it's not a discussion that we're having?
No.
Right on.
It's not at this time.
All right. Let's see. Skip that. Oh, wow. I think that is the same question we just asked, only written out differently. Let's see. People asking about friend lists, integrations, and leaderboards between friends.
We have a friend list integration. Leaderboards are not something that we've currently put any work into. It's something that we do find that it keeps it sort of keeps us out of that. What's the best word for it? It limits sort of any competition between players. I mean, it's not a multiplayer game, so we're not 100% sure how we would deal with that. As well as we'd have to make sure that everything was airtight in terms of being able to, to hack your account or to rig things in ways that is just not conducive to a fair playing field for leaderboards.
Okay.
Something where it's just among friends, I can see why that would be asked on there. It's like global leaderboards becomes a problem, but if it's just something among your friends, that's a little more amenable. But yeah, it's not something that we've discussed at this point. But it is possible that we do something where we'd integrate like your information, like your account status, like how far along you are, into, like, we've been talking doing something like that with our Discord integration, so that you could at least look at other people and see how far along they are. But it wouldn't really be a leaderboard per se. Yeah,
that would just be, as I understand how they're looking to put it into Discord, because it's not complete, but it would be an option where instead of just saying playing idle champions, it could be like, it could say which adventure you're on and how much time you put into it, or something along those lines. Yeah,
or even a little bit more of a profile information where it's like, you've completed this many adventures and you've got this much divine favor, and you're at this level right now, and this is your highest level reached. Sort of just like a snapshot of your profile, and sort of how far you've gotten along, like what you've accomplished.
That could be fun. Cool. I think my formation is about to change, isn't it?
Looks like it.
So does it dump my characters back into the thing?
Anyone that gets swapped out.
Oh, what is this?
What just happened?
You know what it is? It's an opportunity to put Naeli up front.
There we go. Oh, no, it's going down. Oh.
It's always Minsk. All Minsk. Oh, no. That's a little better. Make Minsk better again. Humans. I mean, it still seems like overkill for our levels this low, but that should help it chip away at it for a little while. And yes, I am relatively new to Codename, and no, I haven't noticed that the boss is enraged. There's a lot of things I haven't noticed. Yeah. Sorry.
What are you gonna do?
Not sorry. Just, yeah. Plus, there's value in my approaching this as a new player, so that in case we have people who are not veterans of Idle Champions in here asking questions, I can ask it like I know nothing, and in some cases maybe I do, but it'll provide an answer that is something that anybody can understand, and not just the players who are going to ask us why the divine favor conversion rate is like this many decimal points off, or whatever. Those much more deep questions that many players never even get to. So
Fair enough.
Yeah. So let's see. Question: will you add blessings that do time-based stuff, like reducing the transition time between areas?
That's entirely possible.
Yeah.
The blessing stuff, again, it still needs to be fleshed out. It's something that we're going to be actively adding stuff to. I can't say exactly what they're going to end up being, but that one's definitely a possibility.
Cool. Let's see. Will you be adding a character for each race? Because it seems as though the humans are taking over, and I'd love to see a kobold with their racial ability.
We're definitely trying to make sure we get a good cross-section of all the different D&D races. I don't know when the plan is for a kobold, but it's definitely a possibility for that one. But as we keep going, we're going to be trying to make sure that we end up with a good cross-section of all the different D&D races. So
cool.
If your favorite race isn't in there yet, it should be eventually.
It should be eventually. Cool. So it's Q2, which means that we should do another giveaway.
Raffle.
Yeah. I think the last raffle we're doing is a gold chest. Is that what it is?
I didn't check ahead of time.
I think it is. But either way, that should begin now. Yeah, that's cool. I like this Icebound Toast. I am way too addicted to this game. I blame you. Thank you. I'll take it. Ooh, and there's the raffle text just blowing all the questions away. Yeah, so I'll just have to scroll down way further to see about other questions. And apologies if we're missing yours. It's not intentional. It's just what we really need is a chat for taking questions and a chat for doing the raffles, and that's something that we're looking at doing. So, what area of Faerun, flavor-wise, are you opening next? Baldur's Gate?
I'm not 100% sure which is coming next. We're definitely going to be moving into the Tomb of Annihilation content that takes place on Chult.
Oh, so Chult is next.
That one is coming, but I'm not sure if there's one in between that or not.
Okay.
We're opening up a different location.
Cool. That's exciting. I like Chult. Anywhere you can find dinosaurs is pretty sweet. It's fun.
Yeah.
Let's see. Lives. So if your character is defeated, you have to swap it out or continue with fewer champions. Oh, so it's an idea about
yeah, I mean that sounds like
tearing through your roster and having them all die gradually, having to replace them.
I can definitely see an adventure having that as a variant.
I like that idea. That's really cool. I think that might be better if we had a few alternatives for each slot, but at that point, yeah, that'd be great. Well, I mean, and punishing, but you know, whatever. You'd actually have to think through which ones you
Yeah, I know we have an objective type that is no wipes.
Oh, really?
So certainly that's something that we're going to see going forward.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Which is pretty similar to that. It's just everyone has one life.
Yeah. That's some pretty active play and not so much idle play, though, Dave.
I can't be responsible for that.
So let's see. Some games have a way to have vocal interaction with the game. Will you ever add a similar feature? For example, the player could do increasing damage to a boss based on the frequency and severity of the curse words they yell into their microphone.
Oh, I don't see that one getting implemented.
That particular one seems unlikely. Yeah.
I wonder how many games actually have some sort of auditory input for them, because that immediately makes me think of that the Donkey Kong game with the bongos.
I didn't play that one.
Yeah, it was for one of the Nintendo consoles.
The last Nintendo console I was super into was GameCube, so I've missed a few. I went full PC gamer at that point.
It was GameCube, but it had like
really?
the bongos,
Crap.
So you tapped on one side to go left and the other side to go right.
Oh, no, I didn't play that.
You clapped your hands and it recorded that, and that basically made him smack his hands together. And if you smacked both of them, you jumped. So the whole game was played with the bongos.
I played Mario Kart and Zelda.
Well, you missed out. This one was great.
Did I, though?
Especially when you get someone who's really, really enthusiastic about it, just sort of wailing away on it as fast as they can. You know?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
That sounds intense.
So, yep, and boom, there's take a break. Sort of.
My only regret about going full PC gamer is that I haven't played the new Zelda yet. That saddens me just a little bit.
That one, I haven't finished it, but I think
it's
a
good.
lot of the people
is it as good as people say it is?
At least half the people in the office have played it and loved it. So.
Ah, jeez. All right. Well, I did play The Witcher 3. Sorry, that was a dig at Justin.
It's not even here.
Yeah, I know. So let's see. Question: don't you think that the percentage you get from duplicating an item, I guess when you open a chest, the percentage increase you get is too low?
It's a little bit, I mean, it is a small increase every time there. My understanding of that, and again, the balance side of it falls on Justin, is that over the long term, because they're all permanent, because it goes and your equipment is, unlike the other pieces, doesn't reset, that those bonuses are going to build up quite a bit. So it's a little bit at a time, but over time it's going to get quite large.
Okay. Are there any plans for, say, having enough equipment that you actually actively swap between pieces?
It's not something we've discussed at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think so. But,
that could be fun. Could be.
Yeah, it's one of those things that we like to continue just to evolve our games. So as we go, like I know in Crusaders, we added in like the mission system and the crafting system, and all those pieces were pieces that were not part of the original design. They weren't plans that were. They're sort of like, would it be nice to do this or that, and you explore them and then get them in, and then they become a core part of the game. So I wouldn't say it's never going to happen. I say as it goes, we'll probably continue to evolve the available features, and something with equipment could very well happen. But
cool.
It's not at this time.
Let's see. Will there be a way to upgrade armor outside of simply finding better quality? So I guess there's another crafting question.
It falls right into that, and the answer is potentially at some point.
Okay. Let's see. Critical Mole. Oh, we've taken a lot of Critical Mole's questions. I'm gonna.
I like
sorry,
name,
man. I'm gonna.
Critical Mole.
That's a good one. I think they're on the Discord now too. Let's see. Suggestion. Game mode idea. If a champion dies. Oh yeah, we just did that one. Let's see. What's the next feature you as a developer think we should be really excited for as a new addition to the game? Oh, I like that question. You phrased that perfectly.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I don't have anything off the top of my head that's a key feature that's going in right now. I mean, right now we're primarily focused on getting sort of everything worked out and working so we can move from early access into release. So really our focus from a technical side has been squashing all the little bugs and making sure everything's running really smoothly. And so we're not quite there yet. And once that's all handled, then we can start thinking about features. But,
are you able to give our audience an idea of what it takes to actually move a game from early access into a release?
I mean, I think that's different for every game as far as like where you think where you are along in the content creation, where you are along in the actual like technical completeness of the product. And so you look at a lot of early access games and they're like, whoa, this is missing like everything, and the UI isn't even here. And whereas when we moved into early access, we definitely wanted to have all of those pieces there and sort of close to their final form.
Okay.
And so really what's been coming up has been issues around, well, it's really been around squashing bugs, and more so than being, feature complete.
Okay. Let's see. Next question. When auto progress is turned off, it still moves you forward the first time you kill a boss stage. Any plans to keep it off completely or allow a toggle? So it's the first time you kill a boss, you automatically move forward.
Yeah, that's true. The first time you kill a boss, sort of the procedure on getting the chest always pushes you into the next area. I mean, at this point, I don't see any major issues with that as a mechanic.
So going back to an area to stay in, that's on you.
Yeah, if you wanted to go back one, I'm not 100% sure what the reasoning on that would be, like why you'd want to do that. Otherwise, you're gonna you'd either manually be there to set it back, or you'd get bumped back to that area anyway if you weren't paying attention and you couldn't proceed to like you were at the area right after a boss. So
okay.
So maybe I don't understand.
Will there be anything to buff click damage in some way? At the moment, you can only grade up your champs and set your formation when you are actively playing. Feels less rewarding when I actually want to play.
I think we sort of touched on this a little bit earlier. Click damage is one of those things that got put back into the game after the fact.
Oh, really?
Because we were doing the clicking on the characters to make them attack faster, and it became clear that actually click damage as a straight up just damage was more effective.
Okay.
So it's definitely something that could use some additional design time on.
Cool. It's 1:53, so we're getting close to the end, but we can take a few more questions. Oh, excuse me. I've been waiting for that for like 5 minutes in case you've been like I'm like, is this going to be a horrible burp when I'm talking about something? Or Chunk's going to come out?
People
so I was just like,
hear that, man.
Yeah, well, you know, but it's just like, I just probably looked really uncomfortable for the whole time where I'm like, So I'm glad that's sorted. So who decided on the duck and quack themed chat sensors?
You know, that is I'm not 100% sure who ended up doing that. I want to say it was Peter. Peter, who's one of our developers, has worked a lot on the chat servers, and I'm pretty sure he did the chat filter.
Wait, what am I fighting again? Elementals.
But yeah, I'm not 100% sure where that quack came from, but it certainly seemed like an appropriate replacement for anything that was inappropriate. And it's been that way for, I think, since our early Egg Breaker chat had that. So
oh, really?
Yeah, it's been
around for a while.
It's been around for a long time.
Okay.
We've just stuck with it because it's funny.
I like it. I think it's great. You know, it both interrupts it, but also it's, you know, it's a good de-escalation kind of filter because
it's funny.
Well, but it's also like when people are swearing at you. Not that I'm experienced in this, but like it tends to, you know, the situation tends to escalate. But if they quack at you, it does not.
Yeah.
You know, even just thinking about it makes me want to chuckle. So I think it's a great way to do it. Let's see. Ooh, I like this. Daylight Asunder. Will you be adding blessings that require more than one type of favor?
You know, that I don't think that we've discussed that, but that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for
that
that one.
I'm going to leave that like that. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, thanks for that one, Daylight Asunder. What else we got? Will the element of critical miss be used in some way? Example, the champion could trip and fall instead of attacking.
You critically miss, you drop your sword. You go back 3 levels.
Oh, jeez.
Probably not.
No?
No, but I wouldn't rule anything out, but it doesn't seem like
it seems unlikely at this point.
It fits really in there, but
yeah, you know, it's my favorite. It's one of my favorite things about actually playing Dungeons and Dragons with friends is critical miss, because especially with the merciless DMs that I've played with, when you roll a 1, things are going to go real sideways. Yeah. And I've always really liked that. But in an I don't know. I mean, you come back and your party is wiped for no reason because something happened. Like, I don't know.
Maybe not quite as much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. We played for a long time with a DM who had a deck of critical miss cards, and so when something went, if you rolled a critical, it was like, draw a card.
Yeah.
It could be anything.
That's a good idea. I didn't even think of that. That's great.
Dropping your bag to having your weapon stuck in the wall, or
to stabbing
stabbing someone next to you.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw a Dungeons and Dragons improv one time where the one of the characters threw a fireball, and then the way things rolled out, critically hit and nearly killed the entire party of players. And the only player that did die was the person's wife in real life. So it like killed her character. And then after the show was over, it was like, I can't believe you killed me. It was awesome and wonderful, and one of the things I love about D&D. Let's see. Oh, interesting. So, question: are the half races getting buffs for being humans and half races?
Now that's another one of those questions that's come up a number of times, and I know we've discussed it here. It's something that we'd like to address in some way, but we haven't actually come up with a solution on that one, and it's been something that's ended up just as a design question that needs to be addressed, but hasn't been yet, because it wasn't something that we thought of when we originally put in the character tags, like what races they were, and so the half elf or any of the half races right now are specifically that type. They're like if you're a half elf, that's a different type than an elf and a different type than a human, and so all the system works on this idea of you're human or you're elf, and so as far as it's concerned, that they don't mix, and so we need to actually come up with a technical solution for that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we're just about done. So I guess at this point, I'd like to close out by asking you a question, not necessarily related to the game, but like, who was your favorite Dungeons and Dragons character that you ever played in a game?
Oh, that is a really good question. I think in any game, straight up, I think my favorite one was the original Neverwinter Nights. And as far as what characters that were my favorite, I don't remember. I mean, the character itself would have been a custom character, but I think the character from the game that I enjoyed the most was this little kobold bard, and I can't remember his name.
All right. Well, we're going to have to
But,
cut out there because our friends from BCom have Tales from Candlekeep coming up right after us, or at least that's
Again?
what Twitter said. That's what Wizard said on Twitter. So I'm going to assume that that's true and make sure that we actually wrap up before 2 o'clock. Although, yeah, we would like to continue carrying on and answering questions, but I'm just going to kind of wrap this up. So that's all we have for today. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, we'd like to thank Wizards of the Coast once again for allowing us access to the official Dungeons and Dragons Twitch channel. You know, this D&D is more than just a game. It's like, it is a collection of shared memories and experiences that you have with all your your friends and other players, and it helps you build friendships, and it's impacted us so deeply on a personal level that it's hard to imagine what kind of people we would be without it. So it's our privilege to be here, and yeah, we will be at TwitchCon this weekend, and Long Beach attending that, and yeah, stick around. Tales from Candlekeep, Tomb of Annihilation is coming up next, and followed by Destiny and Doom at 3 o'clock. So thanks for watching.